Welcome to another episode of Beyond What You See, where we take the time to uncover the hidden stories, the journeys, and the lessons that shape leaders, teachers, educators, visionaries. Today, I'm your host, Steve Robertson, and today we're honored to sit down with Mr. Kevin Ingram, someone who dedicated his life to opening doors for students across the state and beyond. Our guest, Kevin, is currently an educator, consultant at the Wisconsin Department of Public Instructions. His journey didn't start in the office. It started here in Milwaukee as a student walking the halls of Marshall High School, and later as a first generation college student at Marquette University, where he became part of the Student Support Service Program, the Education Opportunity Student Support Service Program. Kevin has worn many, many hats. He started as a tutor counselor. He was also the director of Marquette University EOP pre-college programs. And later he was the administrative director, and he ran the WAOP office here, the DPI WAOP office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's done a number of things. What I love about Kevin's story is that it's not just about titles, it's about impact. From working one-on-one with students, with shaping policies at the state level, Kevin has always been driven with a passion and a heart to help young people. And an inherent belief in the power of education and the power of expectation and being a strong nurturer as well as having high expectations. So today we're going to go beyond what you see. We're going to explore how Kevin got here, what shaped his vision, and what lessons he learned along the way. So Kevin, welcome to Beyond What You See.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Looking forward to having an interesting discussion with you.
Absolutely. So Kevin, let's jump right in. Kevin, you grew up in Milwaukee. You graduated from Marshall High School. You went to Marquette. You joined the Student Support Service Program. Looking back, what experiences shaped your direction?
We're gonna have to start off with the bad and go to the good. What shaped my experience was the death of my mother when I was 6 years old, and my grandmother raised me and three other siblings, and then my aunts helped raise me. My uncles helped raise me. I had an older brother who was always in trouble, so I was like, I don't want to go that lifestyle. And then Mother Bolden, my guidance counselor from John Marshall High School, who is now 100 years old.
Mm.
She's the reason I ended up at Marquette, because back then you didn't question what your teacher said. If your teacher said you should do this, they recommend you do that, you do that. She was the one that says, young man, you need to go to college, and I want you to go see Mr. Mayberry down at Marquette University. And the rest is history. Mr. Mayberry told me where I would be living. And that was it. You'll be living in that residence hall right there, because all freshmen are required, even though you live in Milwaukee, all freshmen are required to live on campus so you can get that campus experience. And the rest is history, man.
Wow, you said a lot there. First of all, your mom died when you were 6 years old. As another person, that mother died when I was 10, I understand that how all of that can affect people. So when you start talking about statistics, right? But other people stepped in. You saw your brother and you saw what not to do by some of your family members, but you had other people in your family that stood in the gap and helped you along your pathway to fulfill your purpose and your journey here on this earth. That's good to know. And what was the teacher's name again? That's about 100. She celebrated Mother
Miss Carolyn Bolton.
Miss Bolton. So Miss Bolton made an impact. She was a breadcrumb. It's amazing how God can use people and situations to help get us to the right place at the right time. So she was instrumental in telling you to go down and talk to Mr. Mayberry, Arthur Mayberry, a longtime recruiter from the Marquette Education Opportunity Program. God rest her soul. And that started you on your journey.
Yes, because she had access to all my records. So as I was a hall monitor going to school half a day, she went in and changed my class schedule, made sure I had English composition, advanced math 2, which is pre-calc, and another class that I had, and she just made and then told me that, hey, look, based on your grades, you need to go to college. You can stop working at McDonald's. I have other things I need you to do. And again, I just followed direction. But more importantly than that, as I matriculated through college and learning the concept of it takes a village, I learned what village I was in and how I was surrounded and how I was, let's say, guided and protected from the elements of the streets, because I could have went in any direction. And it's by the grace of God that I'm alive and well, and I'm healthy. And I owe it all to those folks who made sure that I was guided appropriately, yet independent enough to make my own decisions. So I knew what was right, what was wrong, but the feeling inside you tells you, if when you do something good, you feel good. And when you do something bad, you feel bad. I wanted to make sure I was feeling good the majority of the time than feeling bad. And that's the key to life.
Wow, that's huge. How you were guidable, you was teachable, you was had the ability even to allow mentors and people that God has placed in your life for a time, a lifetime, and for a season to help to lead you. Wow, that's cool. You started as a tutor counselor at Marquette, working one-on-one with students. How did those early days at EOP shape the way that you lead today?
Well, patience. And the first person I need to thank for teaching me patience is the none other than the greatest of all great people. This you, Steve. You taught me how to be patient. Working with you and the other kids, man. I was able to take the lessons that my aunts and my grandmother instilled in me, and that is treat people right and be patient. And although I was raised by women, again, my uncle, um, um, Dr. Howard Fuller was one of my mentors. Dr. Michael Smith was my first Black teacher at Marquette. Dr. Bob Lowe taught me how to think and act like a tree that had branches that just branch out and spread your wings and imagine you doing the things that you want to do in life. And so, and then having Dr. Felicia Patillo, my math teacher, my calculus teacher at Marquette University. I was fortunate enough that along my journey, I've always had a Black teacher or a Black professor in my educational journey. Whereas when people say they've gone to predominantly white schools, either high school or college, they don't see Black mentors. I had all of that from birth, and that's what really shaped me, because I had visions of what I could possibly be. You know, seeing Dr. Howard Fuller walk on campus and walk to the classroom, I imagined myself doing that. And guess what? I did. And every summer now, I get to come back to Marquette University and lead a seminar. So the vision has been fulfilled in terms of me seeing myself walking in their footsteps.
So talk to back go back to that high school Kevin Ingram that was at Marshall High School, growing up, not in a traditional home setting, had people in the family to role model after, and others that you wanted not to go after the direction they were going in. Speak to Stooch like that. What would you say now back to that high school student, 11th grade, 12th grade, um, And what would you say to that, Kevin?
Oh, what I would simply say is one, obey your parents. Number one. Number two, my grandmother only had a sixth grade education, and we grew up on welfare, and she was a maid for one of the top attorneys in the city of Milwaukee. So my grandmother cleaned house and cleaned toilets and all that kind of stuff. She couldn't help me with my homework, but here's what she did. She made sure with the money she received from welfare and the money she received as a maid, I had 3 meals a day. I had clothes on my back, even though they may have come from the Goodwill or Salvation, St. Paul Salvation store. She made, or we had government cheese. It didn't matter. She made sure we had 3 meals a day. She woke me up. She made sure I cleaned up my room. But more importantly, that when I came home from school, she made sure, one, I ate first, then sat down and did my homework. She just made sure she put the structure together for me. And I just followed her structure. And so I would, for kids growing up in a single parent household, even if it's just with your mother or it's just with your father or it's with a grandparent, you know, learn to love them and respect them because they are the ones providing you with the guidance that you need to make it to the next level. And no one knows what the next level is going to be. All I can say to you is this: if you follow their directions and you know they're leading you right, they're leading you right. If they're not leading you right, you're going to have to figure out a way to go get some help from somebody else. But the key is my grandmother provided us a stable home. And I didn't want to do anything to hurt my grandmother. So a lot of decisions I would make would be, when I got caught stealing, I'd say to the police, whatever it is you need me to do, just don't take me home to my grandmother. When I got caught throwing an eraser at a student,
Mm.
because they did it first to me. And Mr. Brown said, you got a choice, a 72, or you can sit on your knees in this front of this classroom and face the chalkboard, the blackboard. I said, I'd rather sit in this classroom and face the chalkboard and be embarrassed in front of my classmates than go home and get a whooping from my grandmother. But more, it wasn't a whooping. She didn't whoop hard. It was just the embarrassment that I would cause on her face, letting her down. And I did not want to let her down. And so to me, doing what my grandmother asked me to do, because she was the one who stepped in to take care of us after my mother was shot and killed.
And that's a lot. That's a lot, Kev. One thing I always say, just after my mom died when I was 10, was to when I talk to students is you better appreciate what you got while you got it, because when it's gone,
Yes.
you can't get it back. So it's so powerful to have people appreciation, as well as it's a very possible, and that mindfulness, that gratefulness for what you have is huge. Now, Kevin, I know your story. I know that you touched the lives and impacted the lives of thousands, hundreds and thousands of students from and you've been doing this thing. You're not new to this. You're not new to this thing. You true to this game, the game of getting people to college, the game of really helping people find their place in their destiny in life. Can you speak to some of the joy it must be when you see students that you had you played a part in their story? Can you tell me about some of your students, some of the students that you helped to mentor, you helped to lead, to guide, to be instrumental in their life, like some of Miss Bolton and some of the other people that was instrumental in your life? Talk about those students and talk about how does it make you feel today when you see what your hard work and what your fruit has grown.
Well, let's put it this way, Steve. If after this podcast, I were to die today, I know I'm going to heaven because of all of the students I had the opportunity to work with. And, I feel somewhat, it's joy when anytime I see a former student, I say to myself, that's confirmation that I'm living right. Because our students are running churches. Our students are principals at schools. Our students have superintendent's license. Our students are mayors. Our students are accountants. Our students are lawyers. our students have worked at the White House. I mean, and they work in government. And so, and once I get off this podcast, I'll be working with Darnell Parker, Upper Bound graduate, who's working on his architectural license, who's trying to pull together a global youth engineering apprenticeship program for students, exposing them to um, STEMs and technology and building. And this is global. He's working with people in Africa and all over the country. So I'm on his board. So when students call and say, Kev, can you be on my board? I'm a little hesitant to say yes, but because we told them we would be there for them, I kind of feel somewhat obligated. But at the same time, it's a privilege to have your former students reach out to you and ask you to be a part of something. Just like um, I said to Dr. Howard Fuller one day, y'all need to move over and let us young folks take over. What a mistake that was. Because when he asked me to be involved in the Charter School Review Committee, I didn't know that I was going to end up being chair of the Charter School Review Committee, that he was going to move off, you know. But so I'm careful now to criticize older people and say, y'all need to move to the side, because I can see why we hang on as long as we hang on, because we know we made a difference. We're making a difference, and we're trying to keep making a difference. But at the same time, you know, there's this thing called retirement, and sometimes we just have to let stuff go. But here, what I know, I can let go because I know things are in good hands, despite the current conditions of the United States of America. I feel good. I feel good.
So just for a second, can you name me a couple students that you worked with that you talked about the types, but anybody come to mind? Any students or stories
Yeah,
that bring
yeah.
you joy? Tell me some students that your former students that you worked with that bring you joy when you think about
First of all, my first student that brings me joy is I'm going to say Kalen Haywood, because I remember walking to his house, going up on the third floor on Highland Boulevard. I knocked on the door. His mother answered and said, "Well, he's all the way upstairs on the third floor." And I went to the third floor and I said, "Hey, Kalen, um, we recruited you. You didn't show up for the meeting. I just want to make sure you coming. Are you going to be a part of this program or not? Because we really want you to be a part of the program." And he said yes. And now he's an architect. He's a builder. He has a son that is a state representative. Um, I had a hand in that, and I'm proud of that. Darnell Park, he's out in California. He reached out to me and asked me to be a part of his board. Anique Ruiz, who is an attorney. Reve Sinclair, who is also an attorney, and now I forgot the term that they use, but she's helping mothers, helping them deliver being what you call a midwife or whatever, making a doula or whatever they call that, where they help in making sure they come out with healthy babies.
them.
I think Sharon is at the Center for Disease and whatever, CDC. That's where she's at.
Mhm.
Dennis Griffin, principal, elementary principal, Brown Deer High School. Candace Coates, principal, Dr. Howard Fuller Charter School. Lily
Camille
Bogo,
Harrison.
pastor.
Yep.
I mean, it spreads the gamut.
Oh
You
wow.
name the career, they in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just wanted to give you that chance. Okay. Speaking of failure, right? Because all students, sometimes you have to be teachable. Sometimes people come in programs, they're not at the time or able to receive everything that you have. So sometimes those are great success stories. How has failure shaped your life and leadership?
Oh, you learn from it. That's what failure does. You learn from it, and you don't be. And the key is not to be afraid to do something that's going to stretch your boundaries. As they say, Failure is just an opportunity to get back up and try again. Just keep trying, because you're not going to be successful at everything you do. I will repeat, I am not a multi-millionaire, but I have friends who are.
Mm.
Um, I don't drive a Beamer. I don't drive a Jag. I have what I can afford, and I'm happy. And I'm happy that I'm able to do the things. Hey, I'm married like them. I own a home like them. It's not the fanciest home in the world, but hey, I don't consider myself a failure because I'm not at their level of success. Because we've all chosen what we wanted to do to fulfill our purpose. Me working with young men and young women and their parents, that was the purpose God had for me. And knowing that I discovered that purpose at an early young age and stuck with it, I'm enriched by the number of students that we have collectively helped through this program. I didn't do it by myself. Later on, you were hired to be a part of the Upper Bound program, and now you are, like me, you are directing that program. So when we started in the program, we started at the bottom and we worked our way up to the top. And that's what failure teaches you, to start at the bottom and work your way up at the top. Because if you're given something and when you fail to achieve your goal, you do not have the tools or the resources on how to recoup because you think the world owes you something. So if you don't work for something, you don't know how to appreciate it, even if you lose it. I mean, we all are born into this world and we know we're all going to die. And what I like to say to people when I'm teaching my class in the summertime, I show them my marker with my name on my marker at the cemetery. I said, but what you don't see is you don't see the end date yet. And that's because I'm still making my mark. I'm still living. I'm still here to touch you. And what we do in that dash is what we do in the dash is the main thing that counts. Our ups and our downs, we just need to learn from our failures. And we also need to learn from our success so that we can turn around. And when somebody else is failing, we can teach them how to overcome that failure.
Absolutely. That's talking about leaving a legacy. You add value, been adding value to students and to people across for many, many years with the hope that they will multiply value to somebody else. And that's how you keep that legacy going and growing, teaching teachers to teach. Right. So, Kevin, let's go back to your Marquette Student Support Services. Speak to some of the mentors or the positive people that impacts your life there, because I know it's many.
Oh, first of all, let's just do it this way, in this order. Arthur Mayberry, he taught me how to play golf. So I wasn't no basketball player. I thought I was going to make the basketball team at Marquette. I failed to make the basketball team at Marquette University. But that's okay because guess what? I got to enjoy going to the games and still being a part of the process. But we play scrimmage basketball. But see, you can only play certain sports for a certain period of time. Arthur Mayberry taught me how to play golf, and now that's what I do as a substitute for basketball. My substitute is golf. Dr. Bob Lowe taught me how to be a tree and expand my imagination and dream that I could be anything that I wanted to be. Dr. Mitchum taught me how to be an advocate. Dr. Howard Fuller taught me how to be an advocate. But the main person that taught me how to be humble, respectful, and sensitive of others is Sandy Robertson. That's what my grandmother taught me. That's what my aunts taught me. And because these individuals, I'm fortunate that right now, these individuals, with the exception of Art Mayberry, are still alive. So that means I get to interact with my mentors on a day, for me, because we all live in the city of Milwaukee, I get to interact with my mentors just about on a day-to-day basis, even at my age of 65 years old. And I still feel like I still feel like a kid. I still feel young. And when young people say to me, man, you don't look, I just smile and say, well, hey, look, the grade proves it. But if you say I don't look 65, I accept the fact that you said I don't look 65. That's because I'm young at heart. And, you know, and having every year to come back and interact with the EOP students or the upper bound students gives me that um, ability to feel young at heart. And it makes me think back to my days when I was in college and the fun we had. But at the same time, we have to step back and let our young people make their own path. The key is when they do go down the wrong path, they reach back to us to ask us, well, how can I correct the mistakes that I made? And to me, that's what makes me feel good, Steve, because they know that that's the lesson we taught them. You know, we've put students out of the program, but we brought them back in and then they went on to be successful. You know,
Absolutely, Kev. Just like so, let's backtrack. The podcast is beyond what you see. Sometimes people see just a tip of an iceberg, but don't know the rest of the story.
mhm.
So hearing your story that your mom died when you were 6, your grandmother and other people in your family took the baton from there and helped to raise you, care for you. Your teacher, Miss Bolton, saw something in you when you was just working a hall monitor. She saw something in you and she had some high expectations for you and she helped to guide you, but you followed. Mr. Mayberry, he told you about a program that you applied to and you got accepted to. Then you got to Marquette and you encountered Dr. Fuller, you encountered Sandy Robinson, you encountered Dr. Arnold Mitchum, you encountered Dr. Bob Lowe. So many people that had impact on your life. Did you ever wonder? Then you went to be a tutor counselor. You graduated from Marquette and came on to work for the Upper Bound program. Then you began to be was a recruiter for them. Then you ran the programs there. Then you went to DPI. Then you went here and there, and all the people that you touched. Did you realize that the people that touched you and impact you, now you doing that for them? Speak to that.
Well, yes, because see, even with the um, with the National Education Opportunity Program, I had the opportunity to mentor students on a national level through the National Student Leadership Conference. And what's underneath the iceberg is this: that you can take a public school kid from the central city, put them at a university with individuals from that graduated from private colleges, graduated at the top of their class, their parents are rich, bring you into that same environment, provide you with the same resources, and you graduate from that university as if your parents had paid their tuition. But we came in on grants and we came in on scholarships. But what people don't realize when you choose a place like a Marquette University or a Harvard, or UCLA, 80% to 90% of the students are on some type of financial aid. Very few people write a check to a university. That's what you don't realize that's underneath that iceberg. That basically we all put on our pants one leg at a time. We are equal. People try to make us think that we're not. We are entitled to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Educational Opportunity Program made the playing field equal. As long as once we come into the program, we listen to and we follow the guidance of the professionals who are there guiding us through that process. And when we do that, we end up being successful.
Thank you, Kevin. As we close today's conversation with Kevin Ingram, I hope that you caught what he did, his journey, right? Going behind it, seeing the whole journey, seeing the breadcrumbs, seeing how the people that God put in his life for such a time as this. So thank you for sharing your story, Kevin. Thank you for all that you've done to impact the countless lives of thousands of young people who's changing other lives. You will live through them. Your legacy will still flow through them, and you still making an impact every day. So thank you for everybody listening. Join us next week. We're on all different podcast platforms. And thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Steve.